On the 30th of May, 1832, a gunshot was heard ringing out across the 13th arrondissement in Paris. A peasant who was walking to market that morning ran towards where the gunshot had come from, and on the ground he found a young man writhing in agony, clearly shot by a dueling wound. The young man's name was Évariste Galois. He was a well-known revolutionary in Paris at the time. Galois was taken to the local hospital, the Cochin Hospital in Paris, where he died the next day in the arms of his brother. And the last words he said to his brother were, "Don't cry for me, Alfred. I need all the courage I can muster to die at the age of 20. It's not quite clear what that duel was over that morning. It might have been the establishment trying to get rid of this troublesome revolutionary, or perhaps it was a duel with a friend over a lover they both wanted. Others have even suggested he staged his own death in order to spark a new revolution in Paris. We'll never be quite sure what that duel was about. But it wasn't revolutionary politics for which Galois became famous, because a few years earlier, while still at school, he'd actually solved one of the great mathematical problems of its time. And he'd written to some of the academicians in Paris trying to explain his great breakthrough. But unfortunately, the academicians couldn't understand a word of what he was writing about, partly because this is the way that he wrote most of his mathematics. So the night before that duel, Évariste Galois realized this was probably going to be his last chance to try and explain his great breakthrough. So he stayed up all night writing away a letter to a friend, trying to explain this new language that he'd created. This language would help us to understand one of the most fundamental concepts in the history of science, namely the subject of symmetry. And this language is called group theory. Now, Galois, as the sun came up over the new day, Galois left to meet his destiny. Maybe the fact that he was staying up all night doing mathematics was the reason he was such a bad shot that morning. But those documents that he left behind him we regard as some of the most important historical documents in the whole history of our subject, because contained inside there was this new language to understand the world of symmetry.